Hey everyone, what's up? This is Simon, back with a slightly different tutorial today. Because today we're gonna dive into creating a multi-app project and also a shared library with Angular and Ionic. So this approach is especially interesting if you're working on some kind of white label solution, if you have an app configured for multiple clients, if you want to share components between them and have everything in one repository. So let's do this. What I did so far is I created a new workspace using the Angular CLI. So therefore you can run ng new, which creates normally a new application. But if you pass create application false, it will only create what you see in here. So package, Angular JSON, but no source folder. Also I specified Angular routing no and SCSS for the styling, but I'm actually not sure if this matters at all. So this is what I've done so far. Now we want to have two Ionic applications in that same project, so they can also then share a library. Later on, of course, you could have two Ionic repositories and they could still share like an NPM package, but we want to keep things in one repository. So first of all, I'm going to create a projects directory. This directory is also created if you would generate a new Angular application, but for Ionic, let's just do this like it is. Then we have to go ahead and create a new file, which is the ionic.config.json. And in here, we simply need projects, an empty object. So normally when you create an Ionic project, we could have actually also started with an Ionic project, but I wanted to skip all the stuff that's integrated and just do this one step at a time. So now whenever we add a new project, we will actually get a new entry in here. But to do this, we have to step into the projects folder and then let's create Ionic start app 1 blank right in the projects folder. Yeah, let's exactly do it like this. So here we go, we already see app 1 is created and we also see that app 1 is added to our projects. And this will now run the installation of the NPM packages, of course, and then we gonna go ahead and add a second app. I don't know if I can do this in the like next to each other already. So if I go into the projects and start app 2 with a tabs project, there we go, app 2, and immediately add it to the array of our projects. So now let's wait until the installation is finished. Now that the two projects are completed, we see app 2, app 1, just the standard Ionic stuff of those projects. So now we can go back to the root of our application and from here simply run Ionic Serve and then pass the project name of the project that you want to serve. So for example, app 1. This is what the documentation of Ionic tells us. Actually, let's take a quick look because I basically created this video and tutorial because I found some problems with the multi-app project in here. So we took the first steps. We have this sort of project structure. The problem is that what's recommended here with the apps is not really working 100% of the time for me. So right here it starts with a crash as unexpectedly closed. Project app 1 could not be found in workspace. I hope my head is not covering this. The fix to this is pretty easy. So what you're gonna have to do is you dive into the projects and into their respective Angular JSON file. So here I am in app 1 and the default project name and everything is still mapped to app. And once we change this to app 1 and this as well, and now also look in here for app, we will see that all of these are using the name of app. So there are like 12 occurrences and you can simply replace all of them with app 1. So now all of these will use the name of our project and then we can save this and let's try to run Ionic Serve once again. And now the error should hopefully disappear. And to make sure everything works, you also go to the second one. This is app 2. And you pass it to app. And then again, you search for app Okay, 12 matches, so replace it with app2, and boom, now app2 will work as well. And here's already the app1 coming up, blank Ionic application. And now I could also say app2 in just a matter of a few seconds. I did not save the file. Yep, there we go. But now Ionic Serve app2, this will work as well and bring up the tabs interface of our application. So at this point, the Ionic config still looks like this. We've set up both our projects, we've changed the Angular JSON file, and we can now see and serve the result in our browser with a simple command and switching the project. So there we go, here's the tabs project. Now, what happens when you want to integrate Cordova into your projects, which is most of the time the next step. So let's try and simply close this, and let's make it a bit bigger. Simply go ahead, like always, Ionic Cordova, platform, add iOS, and then project app1. Let's see what happens. First, it looks pretty good. It enables the integration, it downloads all the files, and then it somehow stops. If you now take a look at app1, you see that we actually got the resources folder with the icon and the splash screen generated. So something was running, but not everything. The problem is if you want to go ahead now and run Ionic Cordova platform build, or is it just build? I think it's just build. So whatever you tell, it will always go back and fail with the same error. Actually, platform is not needed in this command, right? So Ionic Cordova build iOS, yeah, whatever. It never works. But if you take a look at the Ionic config JSON at the top level, you see integrations were added here. The problem is this has to be added here. So we have to specify the integrations for app1 or app2 in those blocks and not outside here. I think we can actually get rid of this. And now app1 has the integration enabled. And if I go ahead and run Ionic Cordova build iOS project app1 once again, it suddenly works and it's using Cordova fetch and installing the platform. And if we would wait for this to finish, you will also see that now in app1, we will have a platforms folder in a few minutes once this is done with the right native project. Same for app2, we could also edit now, and it worked with -- project and the app2 project as well. So here we go, you see it works. So now we got the two projects, we can serve them, we can build them with Cordova, but they don't really share any code. And here's where our shared Angular library comes into play. So again, we switch back to the Angular CLI, which is basically under the Ionic CLI as well, and go ahead and generate a library. Let's call this Academy lib. And you should always specify a prefix for your library. So let's just call this perhaps just AC. So watch for the projects folder. Angular CLI will create everything in the projects folder. So once this command is finished, we see a nice Academy lib in here. It has a basic structure. Here's the right lib. This is the testing file. This is the lib component. What's actually going on here? I'm not completely sure. So here we see Academy lib works, and we want to see this in one of our Ionic applications. So you could create your own components or your own services, you can configure them. If you want to know more about the topic of the shared libraries, please leave a comment below. I would love to create a new video on that topic as well. Just let me know if this is interesting for you. So here we go, let's close the stuff and we will keep the Academy lib. Perhaps I will change this so you see that my Ionic Academy lib is working. Let's change it to this. Now, in order to use the library, we need to do a few things. First of all, we need to build it. And you can do this by running ng-build, why so big? ng-build academy lib. and this would only build it once. And if you work on the library at the same time, it makes sense to also pass in watch, because this will actually watch the library, and whenever you make a change, it will rebuild the library. And if you're also like serving an Ionic project, it will also rebuild that project because the project notices the changes. So let's try add something in here, and there we go. File change detected, starting incremental compilation, and there we go. In our dist folder, we can now see the build Academy lib. Now we need to integrate it into our Ionic app. Let's use app 1. Let's go to source, home, the home module, and we simply add the what was the name? Academy lib module. And for the auto completion, we now see two options, and anyway, both are wrong. So we don't want to import it with any path. The only thing we want to have with this lib in our project is this path. So if we hit save now and also integrate it into our home page, like, I don't know, what was the tag? I need to go back to it. No, not it really becomes a bit confusing if you have a lot of projects open in here. So AC Academy lib, that's the selector, and actually that should now display our string in our view. So therefore, let's go back to another one and let's run a serve with the project app 1. So Ionic Serve project app 1, just like we did before. So we need to integrate it in here in the lazy loaded module file, not in the app module, simply because we need it in this separate module to use the component in here. But we already see it's red here, and if I bring it up, I think we should run into an error. But let's see. Yes, there's the error. So cannot find module Academy lib. Okay, I told you not to use the strange path that was automatically added here, and to simply use this string, and now it's not working and you're mad, and I understand that. But there's an easy fix to this problem. So let me close a bit of this stuff in here so we actually see what we're doing once again. What we need to do is we simply have to go to our TypeScript configuration file, and in here we see at the top level the Academy lib was already added. The problem is our Ionic projects have their own TypeScript config. So in here it is missing. Therefore simply put it in here, and the folder is, I think it's 2 up right. So we're on L1, we need to go, no, we're right here, we need to go there, there, and then in it, yes. So 2 levels up, and then to dist Academy lib. And if you want to use it in your app 2, simply go ahead, go to the tsconfig file and add the snippet in here as well. I'm actually not sure if this automatic build works now, or if we have to do a rebuild, fail to compile. Doesn't matter, so we have to maybe restart the application once again. All of this is a bit confusing, as you see, so we are patching around a bit of the Angular files, the tsconfig file, the Ionic config file, and the thing is, you basically have to set up the things we just did only one time. So adding the Cordova integration, adding the path to the library, and all of these things. So now we see my Ionic Academy lib is working. Now let's see what happens once we change something in here. So there we go. Is still working great. I would love to show you. So here's the recompilation of the library. Then this one will also detect the changes, and in a matter of a few seconds we see the shared library in our shared app is refreshed. So I think that's pretty awesome in itself. Okay, we got the shared project, multi-app project, we got the Cordova integration, we got a library, and now one more thing if you're feeling fancy. So Ionic is great for mobile applications and progressive web apps, but Still, when it comes to website, it is sometimes not what people are looking for. And if you want to have a basic plain Angular application, then there is no problem in it. So in our shared multi-app project, you can go ahead and generate a new Angular application. Where's my command now? Just like you do always with the Angular CLI, you also want routing and the SCSS styling. This will then install all the packages. And you see in our projects folder, we now got an Academy web folder, which is a standard Angular web page. And of course, just like our own Ionic projects, we can run ng serve -- project Academy web. And let's also open a browser with the new project. And that's now the reason why we created a projects folder. Of course, you could have the Ionic applications in a different folder if you don't want to have them in projects, but the Angular CLI will always use this projects folder for the library and for the standard web application. So let's hope this one comes up pretty soon so we can wrap up everything. Again, in terms of the library, let me know if you want to know more about this stuff. Perhaps creating a bit bigger library, sharing it on NPM, whatever you're looking for. And there we go. Here is our Angular application. Here's the Ionic lib. And we could also simply integrate our library into this web application at this point as well. So that's it for today. Not a lot of code, but a lot of configuration. I hope you enjoyed this a bit different tutorial. If you got any questions or wishes for other tutorials regarding the libraries and the project setup, please let me know below. Of course, make sure to subscribe and also check out the ionicacademy.com, which is my code school to help you learn Ionic in the best possible way. It is too hot in Germany, so I'm gonna sign off. Make sure to check out all the other videos and then have a great day and take care.